welcome back for another video. In this video we're going to look at who the best players to buy are moving forward. There's some turning fixtures this week and there are some opportunities to get ahead of the curve, which is always the goal. So let's get into it, and we'll start with the keepers. So who are the best keepers to own right now? This one's going to be particularly important if you're on a Gameweek 10 wildcard, but otherwise good to know. Arsenal home to Sheffield United, so Raya's top this week. This season, Sheffield United have registered 7.53 expected goals, which ranks worst in the league, 7 goals scored in total, and a big chance every 98 minutes, which is also worst in the league. Arsenal have got a great long-term run of fixtures, so Raya for 4.8 mil is a great option. However, bear in mind that in Gameweek 13 he'll be ineligible to play against Brentford because of the loan. If you need a cheap keeper to pair with him, then Turner and Areola played one another that game week. West Ham themselves have got a nice run of games longer term, so the Turner and Areola combination is still decent. And given West Ham have got a good run of games long term, there's no fixtures for a while where you actually need Turner to start. Aston Villa and Liverpool have got a solid block of fixtures themselves in front. Martinez and Alisson need to be in the conversation as good options. However, the problem is, with Martinez, we've got Cash, who's 0.2 mil more, Digne is 4.7 mil, and then we've got Powell and Konsa for 4.5 mil. That said, you could easily double up with them. Likewise with Alisson, Tsimikas has emerged as a great pick for only 4.5 mil, with Robertson injured long term. It all depends on your budget and how your defence looks though. Areola narrowly misses out on the projections this week. He's home to Everton, but if you've got the popular Turner and Areola combination, then Areola is definitely the one to start this week, with Forest away to Liverpool. Chelsea have got a bruised run of games ahead. They've got Brentford, Spurs, Man City, Newcastle, Brighton and Man United. So it is time to shift Sanchez on soon. You can afford to give him the Brentford game next if you've got other pressing moves though. After 10 games, we've got a pretty good sample of data now, and here's how the defensive data looks from Fantasy Football Scout. Man City are best in the league for expected goals conceded, followed by Arsenal, Chelsea and then Newcastle. Forest's underlying numbers have actually been impressive. They've ranked 8th this season, which has made Turner an absolute gift in FPL. Just a shame they couldn't hold on to the clean sheet against Luton, which would have been a nice parting gift before he likely ends up on a lot of benches for the future. Brighton have struggled, and they could still be without Stupino for another couple of weeks. De Zerbi's insisted on rotating the keepers as well, which has made the defence an avoid, barring a Stupino once he's back. Let's look at the top defenders for Gameweek 10 next. It's another home fixture for Liverpool. They're against Nottingham Forest this week, and as such, Trent is top, projected 5.3 points. He's only 8% owned, which is the lowest it's been in 6 years, but he's also the most expensive he's ever been. FPL Review's projections actually has him ahead of Trippier over the next 5, however we're talking about a 1 mil gap between the two. We know he's got a massive haul in him, so if you're willing to take the risk on by allocating so much of your budget there, he's worth a go. Villa are home to Luton in Gameweek 10, so Digne and Cash are both projected to do well. Alex Moreno remains sidelined, could be back in a couple of weeks, after which point he is an option available to Emery in left back, but Digne has every chance of keeping his spot, and we are talking about 0.4 mil difference between him and Cash. With Arsenal home to Sheffield United, the pack 4 all in the top projections this week: White, Saliba, Zinchenko and Gabriel. The question is which one to get. Gabriel's the standout for 4.7 mil, and he's played 90 minutes in the last 6 in a row after a few benchings at the start of the season. White offers the most goal threat playing down the right, but he is the most expensive. The problem with Zinchenko is that he's been coming off early. With Timber out long term, it could partly be because Arteta wants to manage his minutes, but he also had a quiet game against Chelsea and he was hooked at half time, so he's an avoid. Saliba, Gabriel and White, all great picks. Gabriel perhaps the best of the bunch. Newcastle are away to Wolves in Gameweek 10, so Trippier makes the projections again. There's a few names that narrowly miss out here to mention as well. Pau Torres is projected the same as Trippier. Tsimikas projected 4 points. With that long-term Robertson injury, as predicted, Tsimikas came in and they kept a clean sheet. He took 3 corners against Everton as well. He was off after 61 minutes, so dangerously close to a 1-pointer had he come off 2 minutes earlier. Everton were down to 10 men though, so it allowed Klopp to bring on an attacker for him. There's a chance we see Tsimikas' minutes managed as well. He can't play every game, and they can't afford to lose him as well, but he's an amazing pick for 4.5 mil, all things considered. But he's another potential gift in FPL. They've got Luton after Nottingham Forest as well. Porro and Udogie both projected 3.5 points this week, away to Palace, but both great picks for Gameweek 10. Palace still without Eze. On to the midfielders. We've got some massive projections again this week, so hopefully another high scoring game week. Salah's top with 7.4 points. Let us know in the comments your early thoughts on captaincy. Salah, Saka, Haaland, Son and Watkins all good options this week. Salah's moved clear though as the top scoring player in the game now with 75 points. Watkins has 70, Haaland's got 63 and Trippier's got 59. Saka got an excellent assist for Trossard's goal, which is a well taken volley by Trossard. It's hard not to see Arsenal putting a few past Sheffield United, so Saka, Odegaard and Martinelli all strong transfers this week. Comparing the three though, Saka's underlying numbers have been far superior so far this season, even comparing the minutes per expected goal involvement to account for their varying minutes. But it is a fixture where many of these three can haul, and with Basham injured long term, it could be something that Martinelli can expose as a weakness down that side. Diaby's in the projections this week and he was lively against West Ham, but no returns to show for it. He racked up 0.58 expected goal involvement. Still a great transfer with Luton home this week, and he's actually slightly ahead of Bowen on the projections over the next 5. However, Bowen sits as the joint second top scoring midfielder after Salah. He's tied with Saka on 58 points. It was a pretty fortunate goal he scored against Villa after a huge deflection, but West Ham have got an amazing run of games even beyond the next 5, so he's an awesome pick for 7.4 mil. He should sustain output over this run of games as well, where you can set and forget him in your team. At the time of recording, Spurs vs Fulham, the last game to be played Monday night, the outcome of that could dictate a lot of transfer plans. If Son blanks, or perhaps comes off early, or even both, then Son to Saka could be a popular move for Gameweek 10, and it is one I'm considering. Alternatively, the same could be said for Maddison to swap in place of any of the Arsenal trio. Douglas Luiz is projected 4.6 points. He narrowly misses out here, but worthy of a mention after a brace against West Ham. He's 5.5 mil and he's got 49 points this season and he's on penalty duties. One thing to point out is that he's on 4 yellow cards though, so one more is a 1-match ban. Brighton have got a nice block of games ahead as well. Fulham, Everton, Sheffield United and then Forest. So are there any Brighton mids we should be looking at? The obvious one is Mitoma, who's back to 6.5 mil now. He's got 3 goals and 3 assists this season. It is 3 blanks in a row for him, but those 3 to be fair were Man City, Liverpool and Villa. Fixtures create form though, and he's a very viable and cheap enough pick. The other player to mention from Brighton is Adingra. He's only 5 mil, and he's got 2 goals and 1 assist this season, and he started 4 of the last 5. Unfortunately, March was stretched off against Man City with what looks like a long-term injury based on De Zerbi's comments. This does however mean that Adingra should look good for minutes moving forward. Palmer's the flavour of the month at the moment for 4.9 mil, but I'd argue that Adingra is equally good, if not better, for 5 mil, with far better fixtures. Only 0.4% owned, and he's cheap enough to have as a 5th midfielder if you go with a 3-4-3 formation to start him as and when you need. On to the best forwards then, and let's start with the obvious, Ollie Watkins. 5.8 mil separates him and Haaland in price tag, but yet he's on 7 points more this season. He's in the form of his life. He's got 5 goals and 8 assists so far, so that's 13 returns in 9 games. Even more impressively, he's projected slightly ahead of Haaland for Gameweek 10, which makes him another captain option to throw into the mix. To recap, that's Salah on 7.4, Saka 6.8, Odegaard 6.6, Watkins 6.3 and Haaland 6.0. Another week of spread captaincies, which will make it a massive green arrow if you get it right, as the Salah captain is found in Gameweek 9. Though let's not forget Haaland's 23 points against Man United last season from a hat-trick and 2 assists. Probably won't do the same again, but Man United are without Shaw, Martinez and Wan-Bissaka. We could see a centre-back pairing of Varane and Maguire. Man City have scored 15 goals in their last 5 meetings with Man United, scoring in every fixture. If you're on a wildcard for Gameweek 10, perhaps a 3-4-3 is now the optimal formation, with Watkins and Alvarez alongside Haaland in the front 3. Alvarez is almost half the price of Haaland and only 6 points separates them. Looking at the horizon, Haaland's still way out in front though as top over the next 5, followed by Watkins and then Alvarez. We won't spend any longer on forwards right now because it's hard to look past those 3, whether you pick 2 of the 3 or all 3 of them. If you're looking for a 1-week punt, then Jesus is a great pick for the Sheffield United fixture. Thanks very much for watching. This week there's lots more FPL content to come, so hit subscribe to catch the next uploads. To become a Scout member and access all the tools I use in the videos, click the link below. See you soon for the next one.